Hello and welcome to round 12 of my team career mode. We're here today for the British Grand Prix, my home Grand Prix, and we do have an aerodynamics upgrade here today. It's going to be a good one for my home Grand Prix. Should be a nice planted circuit for our car, and we've just got a lot of a mixture of this track. It's a bit like the Barcelona Catalunya, where you've got a mixture of high, low and medium speed corners. And as you can see, we've got a powertrain upgrade for fuel efficiency and another durability upgrade coming on the car just before the Hungarian Grand Prix. And looking at the progress history, we are P2, we're second to last, just behind Williams. There's actually quite a big gap between us and Haas now. And yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for us for keeping up in development. And now we're looking at qualifying. It's going to be a little bit overcast in qualifying one, and we're going to have to try our best to get out of this session. It's going to be quite difficult since the car actually in a free practice didn't seem that great. And now moving on to the first run of the session, we did a pretty good lap. I was struggling in free practice, but I feel like I gained some sort of time in the qualifying session. The grip was there, and now moving into the final sector and now coming into the final corner, it's going to be a 126.7. That is a very good lap, or for the first one anyway. But you know, we're just in front of our teammate, and now moving on to the second run, we're still about 5-6 tenths up, going into is it Copse at Stowe. But we do lose quite a lot of time there, and we're about 4 tenths now. And moving into the final corners, we're just going to get on the power nice and early, and it's not quite worked out for us. We lost a little bit of time on traction, and we go in P19 for now. And this was our final run, and we completely mucked it up. And yeah, we're going to have to deal with the bullies here today, and we're going to have to see P19. It wasn't a great job for us in this session, so yeah, it's going to be quite difficult to catch up in the race. And looking at the results, Sebastian Vettel tops off the first qualifying session. We're 2 places ahead of our teammate Nick De Vries. Didn't quite get George Russell in the session. He was only about 800s off, but you know, I feel confident for the race. We usually have better race pace than we do qualifying, so yeah, let's see what we can do in the race. Let's see what we can do on the Sunday afternoon for the British Grand Prix.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Max Verstappen and Albon, Perez, Sainz, Ricciardo and Lando Norris, Stroll, Ocon, Kimi Raikkonen and Kvyat, Gasly, Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen and Stevens, Russell, De Vries, Latifi and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Okay, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Don't take unnecessary risks.
I do apologise for not keeping in the sort of the cutscene before the race, but it kept on crashing when I tried to load it, so I had to completely skip it. So we only saw what the qualifying results were, which went Mercedes' way quite heavily, especially with Lewis Hamilton, who looks like he's going to dominate here today. It's going to be a one-stop from soft to mediums, and obviously it's our home Grand Prix, so we need to try and impress in front of the home sponsors, I guess. And looking at the car, it looks quite nice in this cockpit. But we're looking at the front wing as well. We needed to change it down a little bit for the start of the Grand Prix. And we are about to start anytime soon, and we're going to try our best to gain as many positions on the first lap as possible. We've been pretty good at it, and we've got 5 lights, and it's lights out and away we go. We get a pretty poor start to the race, but then we got it back on the traction. We're going to try and go up the inside of Grosjean. He brakes a little bit, so we have to kind of avoid him. Now going into turn 2 and turn 3, we're going to have to try and brake as late as possible, try and get ahead of the 2 Haas drivers and Kimi Raikkonen and Kvyat actually. Now going into the long loop section, we have to try and get ahead of Stroll, and obviously this Grand Prix will be the next 2 weekends in the real life F1, so we've kind of done a pretty good job of coming into contact with those two. And now going into Luffield, and we're going to try and go wide and get a better exit and get going round the final corner of the old pit straight. We're going to have to try and get past him, try and get him before Copse, but it doesn't look like it's quite going to work out for us, and trying to go as flat as possible through Copse. We didn't quite get it on the first lap. Stroll gets a really poor exit, so we're going to have to try and go down the inside, and we get up into P12, but Stroll is still here, and we have to try and bully him off of the racing line. He's still with us, going through Beckett's, but we do just about get him coming out of Beckett's, going down the Hangar Straight now. Is it the way? It might be the Wellington Straight. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it's the Hangar Straight. But moving on to the Hangar Straight on lap 3, we're trying to defend from Stroll, and it looks like he's not quite. Yeah, he's not quite going to be there. And we're going to we're in P12 at the moment, and we are catching to Norris now. And going into the chicane, we almost hit the rear of Norris, having to look up to make sure that there was no contact made. Charles Leclerc sets the quickest lap of the Grand Prix. We're going to set our quickest lap now with a 29.8, which is pretty bad, but we're going to try our best to get past this McLaren and Ricciardo, but it doesn't look like we're quite going to get him into here. We go for a late lunge. Norris doesn't really give us the run, but we still get through on him, and that's us up into P11, and now we're trying to get DRS on this straight. It doesn't look like we're quite going to get him here unless we have a super run on him, but actually Bottas is going really slowly on those medium compound tyres, and he's gonna lose the position to Ricciardo, and we're gonna have to try and get past him going around the outside, going into Luffield for the final corner before the old pit straight. And actually Bottas has got really bad issues with the engine, it seems. He's got very poor acceleration coming out of the corners, and now going through Copse, we do make the move stick, and actually Bottas loses 2 positions to us and Norris, and now we're going to try and keep within the DRS of Ricciardo. And look at that, we're in P10, we're in the points now, and ahead of our rival Pierre Gasly for now, but the two Renaults look very, very quick, and we're going to have to defend from Norris going into the final couple of corners of the Silverstone Grand Prix track. And now going through the chicane now. I think I'm going to struggle from now on to capitalise on any mistakes from Ricciardo, because he's very consistent. And now moving on to lap 8 of the Grand Prix, and we do not have any pits yet, but we are going to try and defend our position. And Kvyat is right up behind us now. The frames look a little bit poor actually. Well, most screen anyway, it looks quite poor, but it doesn't matter. We're going to try and carry on, and the gap gap ahead is 6.6 seconds, or is that, no, it's the gap to our teammate is 6.6 seconds, so he's not doing as bad as Joe was, so at least we got one positive out of this Grand Prix so far. And now moving on to lap 10, we have a few pitters coming out of Perez and Ricciardo, and we're going to pit this lap. We're going to pit this lap now, as Jeff is reminding us to pit this lap, so we will do that. Hamilton is pitted because of the pit stop is so slow around this track. We come out ahead of the race leader, but we're going to try and go around the loop, and Kvyat is right up behind us now, and hopefully he doesn't catch us before the end of the lap, but we are going to move on to the end of the lap now, and we're going to come into the pits, 4 medium compound tyres, and Stroll and Kimi Raikkonen is following us in. So, you know, I feel like it might be a bit of a pack stop, but we are right at the end of the pit lane, so it should come into our advantage a little bit here. And now rolling down pit lane, it looks like a few people are already in their pit boxes, and now we've entered our pit boxes with our ugly lime green people in it. And we've left the pit lane, and we're a little bit more ahead of Stroll than we were originally, so we've got better pit stop than the Racing Point guys. Sainz and Ricciardo have already gone past us, and yeah, we're up to speed now, and I believe Bottas will jump us in this pit stop window. We get out ahead of Stroll, about 8 tenths ahead now, so we've got a bit of a positive out of this pit stop, but we just need to try and get Kvyat before he exits the pit lane. And now moving on to lap 17, we have done that, and he's right up behind us now, Kvyat, and going into Magnussen Beckett's, we're getting a bit of understeer off the tyres, and now Kvyat is trying to. He's right behind us now. He's going to try to go around the outside. We're in overtake mode, and hopefully we can keep ahead of him. Yes, we just about can. Going into, I forgot the corner name. Yeah, I forgot the corner name, unfortunately. But going into the chicane now. Valtteri Bottas at the quickest lap of the Grand Prix. 27 is a very quick lap. I feel like maybe the top guys will get into the 26s. Yeah, that's the rate that it's going. And now moving on to lap 20, where there is a yellow flag going down the old pit straight as Stroll is now attacking us. I don't know what happened to Kvyat. Going into Duffield, we stay ahead, and it looks like it's going to be Albon. Alexander Albon is out of the session, and that will gift us the position. And yeah, we're now going to be up into P10. So that is a gift from the heavens for us anyway. And yeah, up into P10. So we will get points in this Grand Prix if we can defend from Lance Stroll. And looking at the pits, I believe that is, yeah, it is. Max Verstappen is pitting. So this might gift us another position in the Grand Prix. As you can see, he's already behind Bottas. So it looks like we are going to catch Verstappen in this pit box, and he'll actually move down to last place, which is a massive gift from heavens to us and Nick De Vries, who's up in positions that Joe was not in. So at least we've made some sort of an upgrade with this season anyway. And yeah, look, we have moved up into P9 now, and that is a massive gift for us, up into P9. And that will be 2 points in the Grand Prix if we can keep defending from Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly, who's obviously our main rival in the championship. And yeah, it looks very good. We're going down the Wellington straight now. No, we're going to move on to lap 24. We've only got a couple of laps in this Grand Prix to go, and we're going to set our quickest lap this lap. And as you can see, Gasly is out of the DRS window. So this looks up for us, and it looks like we will have confirmation of being P9 in this race. And crossing the line, we set a 28.8, which is not bad at all. And going for the first corner, obviously we can take flat out every single lap of this Grand Prix, and this is a massive positive. There's massive positives to take out of this Grand Prix so far. But it looks like, yeah, Pierre Gasly is just about creeping on that gap, and he might just be in the DRS window. And we're actually going to move on to the last lap of the Grand Prix. Gasly has not caught us up, and we're going to take P9 if we can get through the final chicane just about right. We break our normal distance, no lockups in the chicane, no shenanigans on the final lap. We're going to take the checkered flag and take P9 in this British Grand Prix.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Here we are then, a fantastic British Grand Prix, and what a performance it was from our race winners today. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
It's got to be Lewis Hamilton. I mean, he pulled off some impressive feats out on the track today, even by his standards.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. Our championship leaders retain their position, but their lead is shrinking. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So Lewis Hamilton takes P1 in the Grand Prix with the fastest lap. Vettel P2, Leclerc P3 with the Ferrari 2-3. Ocon P4 with the best result he's got so far. Carlos Sainz P5, Ricciardo P6, Bottas with a disappointing result in P8, and then we get P9 with Pierre Gasly rounding out the top 10. Kvyat gets P11, Antonio Giovinazzi gets P12, Lance Stroll gets P13, and Kimi Raikkonen gets P14 in his Alfa Romeo. Kevin Magnussen just ahead of our teammate Nick De Vries, and that shows that De Vries has got pace, along with Grosjean, who is just behind our teammate, and Max Verstappen getting P18 with Lando Norris and George Russell in P19 and 20, and Nicholas Latifi the final person to cross the line, with Albon the only one to not finish in the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas are clearing off in the team standings and the Drivers' Championship. But that's all for me today. That is it, and yeah, hope to see you guys soon, and goodbye.